Renee!
Welcome back to Disney Marvels for the week of January 19th, 2020. This is episode 71. Disney Marvels, a show about Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Muppets, Pixar, Fox, the parks, and much, much more. If it has to do with Disney, it's fair game. I'm your host, Matthew Graken. Whether you're planning your next Disney park vacation, cruise vacation, or you just don't know where to start, do what I do and contact the wonderful people at Destinations with Character Travel, the official travel partner of the Disney Marvels podcast. Email them now at info@destinationswithcharacter.com or visit their website, www.destinationswithcharacter.com, and be sure to tell them that the Disney Marvel podcast sent you for your free gift. Stay tuned after the show to find out details. And now for the news. Disney executives have cut the word Fox from their 20th Century Fox film studio in an apparent bid to distance themselves from the operations of the previous owner and the previous company. Disney and Peter Chernin are ending Chernin Entertainment's long-standing film production deal with 20th Century Fox, rebranded 20th Century Studios. According to Variety, the split was mutual and amicable one, driven by the simple fact that Disney rarely brings on third-party partners to franchise their featured films. Disney has also renamed Fox Searchlight Pictures. Art House arm is simply Searchlight Pictures now. Hank Azaria said he's officially stepping down as the voice of Apu on The Simpsons. In an interview, Hank Azaria said, "I won't be doing the voice anymore unless there's some way to transition it or something," Azaria says in an interview with Slash Films. "What they're going to do with the character is their call. It's up to them, and they haven't sorted it out yet. All we've agreed on is I won't be doing the voice anymore." Reps from the show declined to comment. Reps from Azaria did not immediately return Variety's request for comment. The World, according to Jeff Goldblum, has been renewed for a second season. 3 new films have debuted in Epcot: Awesome Planet at the Land Pavilion, Canada Far and Wide, Circle Vision and Canada Pavilion, and the Beauty and the Beast Sing-Along in the Circle 360 Pavilion Theater and the France Pavilion, which alternates with the Impressions de France show currently. We'll be back after these messages. And now, on with the show.
Renee!
About a year, 2 years ago, Pixar started an initiative to grow talent within its own organization. These were called the Sparkshorts, Spark of Imaginations, and these are just shorts that people have stories that they want to tell. And these stories carry such messages that most people, I think, would find surprising that, it's an animated short. But with animation, you could do so much more. And I have the pleasure of some of these wonderful people to be joining me today. I have Erica Milsom, Krissy Cababa. I apologize if I'm butchering either of your names. And Michael Warch will be coming on shortly, from my understanding. Ladies, how are you doing?
Great. So excited to be on. This is Erica Milsom.
And this is Krissy Cababa. I'm one of the producers of Loop, along with Michael Warch.
Oh, and I'm Erica. I'm the writer-director of Loop, just FYI.
You all had so much involved in this. From my understanding, I read it. You did it in 5-6 months?
Yep. Yeah, not including post.
Yeah. For anyone who's not familiar with the Pixar short Loop, which is the one that these wonderful people worked on, it is the story about a young girl in a canoe who is autistic, but she's also nonverbal autistic. And a young man has to paddle her across a lake, and they're trying to communicate with each other. And it it speaks volumes in different ways of trying to learn how to communicate with another human being. Not just either they can't speak, you speak different languages, whatever the barrier is, that it just tells you that there is such a way that you can communicate with somebody else, that if you just take your time and your patience and you listen, sometimes the people who can't speak have the most to say. And they could show you new things that with your eyes or with your own voice you would never have experienced.
That was a great synopsis. Thank you. I love hearing that.
It's the truth, because oh my goodness, I'm blanking on the young man's name.
Marcus.
Mm-hmm. Marcus, whenever he takes the moment to listen to Renee, that he starts experiencing her world and the things that bring her joy that he's never noticed before. The simple things of the little reeds and the grass in the lake, and the sounds, and how sometimes something that's pleasurable in one aspect becomes so much troublesome in, maybe I would dare say, too loud in other aspects. As I mentioned on the show before, I do have the pleasure of working with such people and students myself in school that I work at, and to see how accurate your representation of a nonverbal autistic child, how well you're able to represent it in the film, but also when you switch perspectives, that how you were able to tie things in, and just kind of give someone who doesn't have that experience, someone that doesn't have autism, maybe a glimpse of possibly what it's like for them. It's just fantastic. But let me start off this way, because I do have some questions, and I pose this to both of you, and I'll let you share. And so, how long have you both been at Pixar?
I've been here, I think, I always say since Finding Nemo, because I can't remember the year, but I can. And I backtrack time through Pixar movies in this very weird way. But I started as an assistant editor on the studio's first real documentary, which was called Making Nemo. So I was brought in to help make that documentary. So I think it's 2002. And FYI, Michael Warch, our other producer, just walked in.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Good. Sorry I'm late. I've been here about 19 years. Easy to remember because I started right when my daughter was born, and she just turned 19. So. And I started on Nemo as well as a manager, and I've worked my way up the chain of producer and production management through multiple feature films.
And Krissy?
Yeah. And this is Krissy. Yeah, so I started at Pixar, I think, in 2005. And I've been here, obviously, since then. I sort of came to Pixar as a temp, actually. I was filling in for a bunch of different people who were on vacation or taking other leaves of absence. And that, those little temporary gigs turned into more temporary gigs. And, almost 15 years later, I'm still here.
Hey, that's a long temporary job.
Yeah, it is quite a long temporary job.
But as long as the paychecks keep coming, that is okay.
It's true. And obviously I get the chance to work on some amazing projects. And so and work with some of the most talented and caring folks in the business. So that is, of course, an extra plus and a bonus. Oh,
the work that you all do at Pixar definitely has revolutionized not just animation, but I would dare say filmmaking and the storytelling in so many ways. I think one of the biggest credits that anyone has ever said was it the first 15 minutes of Up?
Uh-huh.
That right. Alone takes you on such a journey emotionally, mentally, that there's nothing like it in that's been done in filmmaking, I think, to this point, and most likely for a very long time, just because of just how well done how well it's done. And there's no words, There's just soft music, and it tells so much of a story. Which is something that I noticed. Someone actually I mentioned to me because I was talking to people about this short, and someone said that unlike a lot of the other shorts that were done, this one has a lot of dialogue. I'll use dialogue. I'll use the word dialogue. A lot of voice work in it. That where a lot of the other shorts use a minimalist approach on the voice work. Would anyone like to comment on that?
Sure. I think when I first was conceptualizing the short, I was thinking a lot about that many of our shorts lean into pantomime as the way that you tell the story. And I was like, well, I think pantomime, number one, it would be amazing to put that pantomime to use as its own language with a non-speaking character. Like I knew right away that I wanted to have a non-speaking character who communicated in a variety of different ways. I think the opportunity at Pixar, both creatively and expressively for artists and for audiences to experience a non-speaking character who does have a lot to say with their body, is really amazing, right? But also the opportunity within the studio, kind of just like in terms of the humanity of our studio, to really connect with autistic people and understand the way they experience in the world and the way that communication may differ for them. And to learn that as artists and as humans was just something that I really, really loved. And so for Renee, I wanted to have her have dialogue that traveled through her body in a different way, right? She speaks with her gestures, with her hands, her voice. She is saying things with her vocalizations, but they are not in a language that's learnable. You can go to school and learn her language. You have to learn it as an act of connection, right? Which is what Marcus does through the journey. So in contrast to her being our like non-speaking character, our kind of pantomime character, I really wanted to put someone in the canoe, in this boat, who people who do use language as a tool can connect with too. So it was like, and I also just like, I'm a documentary filmmaker. I was a teacher and an after school worker. And like, I also write fictional stories. And I feel like the way people speak and the language that they use and their character and how it comes out of their speed of talking or what they put in the space when they're uncomfortable, I really like that. So it was part of my journey was to figure out Marcus's voice too. And I love his voice. I think he's a really fun character and hopefully relatable to people on a lot of different levels. But that was it's a good observation. Like we've had all these shorts that don't have a lot of dialogue, but I think just kind of the nature of this story, you needed one side to have a lot of words. So the other one would, so, the absence of words on the other side would jump out at you.
Yeah. So let me bring up Adam. I'm first of all, my deepest condolences to you and your families, your Pixar family, of the loss of Adam Burke.
Thank you.
He's done a lot of great work, and he started working on this project with you guys.
That's correct.
So I guess whose idea was this? That came up first of all. Erica, was it Adam? Was it something that you just kind of both were just one day came up? Hey, wait a second, this sounds like something we could do.
I started. I mean, the idea was mine, but I immediately jumped over to start talking to Adam about story. And originally we wanted him to work in the animation department on this as the soup, but he had to step off and he gave us the amazing Allie as our our animation soup. But so Adam and I sat down and I had the original pitch, and the original pitch was the kids on the boat. It had like a non-speaking character, and Adam was really like part of choosing autism as the reason that character didn't speak. There's a lot of reasons that people don't speak, but his interest in autism, his experience with it, and his insight into the like cinematic possibilities of the autistic experience, of like this different sensory experience, the different communication experience. I just was listening to that and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So we actually went through we thought through it a lot in the beginning, him and I together. Like, should she see the world differently? Like, should we have a different point of view that's entirely different? Like the whole world changes when you're in her eyes, or should she see him differently? Should there be another character in the boat that's who it means to her? It was a lot of like wild exploration. And then we kind of got down to this thing that's just a lot more naturalistic, but still has those core ideas that Adam helped me develop of like shifting point of view, understanding a different sensory experience of the world and the cinematic possibility of that.
Yeah.
And just honestly, like he was always like an ally, an advocate. He has been since I've known him. He's just such a wonderful partner who loves the idea of using this medium to tell many different stories. And he was so stoked. And, you know, when you're not sure if the story you're telling is one that the world will want in an animated form, it's amazing to have like a master animator at your side saying, yes, let's go for that, you know? And that was always Adam. He's just like such a brilliant creative partner and wonderful ally. And I miss him like crazy. So.
Oh, sure. Let's see, we lost him in December. So was he able to see the final product?
He saw almost right. Krissy, do you remember? It was
he saw it. We were so close to being done. We hadn't yet started post, so he wasn't unfortunately able to see it with the music and you know all the sound design. But he was able to see almost all of the beautiful work that the animation team had done. So that was a real nice thing that we were able to show him.
Yeah.
Good. No, I'm not trying to bring this down, but I definitely would be amiss if I did not bring in his contribution to this short. Krissy, as we were talking beforehand, that you were involved in Float, which is another story about a more artistic, I guess, design of exploring autism and the family structure. And let me put it this way: Float made me cry when I saw it.
Oh, well, it's weird when people say that and you say thank you, but thank you.
But in a good way. It's definitely one of those good cries. And I've gone to show in many things, and then when I was exploring Float, I learned about Loop and it coming out, and I could not wait for this short to come out. And when I saw it, I don't take this wrong, it did not make me cry, but it did blow my mind of, like I said, the accuracy, the storytelling methods, this directional takes on it, just the whole way that it explains two worlds, and just like I said, just the production value that went behind that you all put into this. So two completely different responses, but two amazing shorts. And it's the fact that they're both about autism too, I think is wonderful, because it is something that I think people are afraid to bring into cinema, not knowing how to treat it, and seeing Pixar being able to do stuff like this, I think just helps the conversation and the awareness to take more of a front seat. And it is a shame that unfortunately you have to subscribe to Disney Plus to be able to experience these wonderful films, which just means more people need to subscribe to Disney Plus. But I just wish there was in some ways an easier way for me to go to my coworkers. You need to watch this. You need to watch this.
Yeah.
People that I know wouldn't subscribe to Disney Plus.
Yes, I've been telling many of my friends and relatives that, you know, there is a 1 week free trial, so you can sign up and watch the shorts, and then you during the free trial, and then at least you get that. So
yes. So what kind of research did you guys have to do to be able to create this? Like it's a cinematic masterpiece. I think does not do it justice, but in storytelling and just visually. So what kind of research did you all have to put into this?
You know, our first layer of research was really, I did a ton of research. As soon as I said this character is going to be autistic, my first stuff was I talked to my friends who are autistic, but then I went on the internet and just started listening. And one of the powers of the autistic community that I love is that they are talking about their experience on YouTube. They're talking about their experience on Twitter. There's so much insight that autistic people themselves. It was funny because somebody's like, well, are you going to go to the expert on autism, like a therapist? And I was like, no, because I feel like it's not a story of diagnosis or anything like that. It's a story of point of view and experience. And actually, do you mind if I step back? Because one thing I love about Bobby's short and my short, and I really appreciate that observation, like that one made you cry and this one made you get inside the skin in a different way. And I feel like it was funny because Loop is really a slice of life story. It's really like a moment where you're in like not a tentpole moment in their life, like not the realization that's going to change everything about the way, like Bobby's is such a tentpole moment. It's so amazing. It's like a father finally like letting go of his judgments that he's feeling and accepting this beautiful child for who this child is and deciding.
There's nothing wrong with this child.
Yeah, I love it. And I actually love that they're paired because I do think they are. And then Loop is this like smaller day-to-day observation of like, how do I get through this thing that I don't know how to do, And it's like, it's maybe not going to shift everything in their lives immediately, although arguably it might shift everything in Renee's life, because when you are a child who is nonverbal and you forge a friendship, that is like one of the more powerful things that, or at least this is what I have heard from people. I can't say because I'm not that person, but when I was listening to people with autism, like the idea that there is a partner in their life, that there is a neurotypical kid who can take the time to see them through the hard parts and connect with them on the beauty that they experience and the way they experience life, like that is a very profound shift. So I hope that people have that. But I totally get it. And I really love that observation. So the research was for us had to be like going straight to autistic people. So initially it was my friend Adriana Citron was one of the first people who came in, and she read our first script. And it's funny because I've known her since she was born. I've watched her journey growing up. She's 19 now. And but hearing her thoughts on this script were so powerful for me. It like made me understand where I was getting it right. It made me understand where it might be like, maybe that's not as helpful for the storytelling, or it doesn't reflect her experience as much. So she was the first level, and she's great. And she has like an Instagram where she talks about her guide dog in autism, and I love her. She's great. So, but immediately we also knew that we needed a more formal group who could help us connect with someone who was nonverbal as a child and now could speak about their experience and judge our work and make sure that we're not making mistakes that we would not be aware of because we're neurotypical filmmakers. Right. And Chris, do you want to talk about that, or Michael, whoever connected with ASAN first?
Yeah, I think that probably was Michael. Yes, Michael?
Yeah, I was actually thinking more about some of the experiences we had at Common Ground, where we went to observe...
Or Creative Growth.
Creative Growth, sorry. And we interacted with all these autistic people who were taking art classes, and that's where we actually found our voice talent. And some of the most powerful research for me was just interacting with her and her family as we did the recordings for the vocalizations, which was very improvisational.
I was going to ask about Madison Brandy. Is the name correct?
Bandy.
Bandy. I'm sorry, I wrote the the name. Who voiced Renee, who is an outstanding young woman herself. So I was curious if she had any influence into creation of her character. So please continue.
Absolutely. I mean, the process. Well, maybe I should back up a minute and just say how difficult it was to convince the studio to use a autistic person to do the vocalizations versus an actress, because we knew that would be hard. And to Erica's credit, she was just adamant that was not negotiable for her.
Good.
So we did ultimately find Maddie through this group, and it was very improvisational because we couldn't direct her in a traditional sense. We couldn't put her in a recording booth, because we sort of experimented with that, but we saw that she kind of shut down. So we had to do it in an environment where she was comfortable with her family around her. And then with those vocalizations, we, had to just figure out how to fit them in. It wasn't like we had preconceived ideas of how what we wanted to capture and how we wanted to use them. So it was a very fluid improvisational process, and that was research in and of itself, just observing how she interacted with her family and in settings where she was comfortable. And it was really interesting to see how Erica warmed up to her and how playful she was with Maddie, and that I think really broke the ice. And it was just interesting to really observe that dynamic.
It was super fun. It's funny because I feel like, people are like, oh, somebody said the other day, oh, you were so patient. And I'm like, if these guys know, if there's anything that I'm not, it's patient. I'm not a patient. So, I'm always excited to get to the next thing and work together. And I feel like with Madison, she was too. And we just needed to learn how to adapt our traditional process. And, luckily I'm a documentarian, so I know about just hanging out and doing verite collection of footage. In this case, it was audio. But then improvisational stuff. I've worked a lot with actors, and I love improv, which we did with Maddie. And then some scripted stuff, which is just directing her, here's the ringtone. Let's sing it many, many times until we get these different, we get a kind of little pained, uncomfortable iteration of it, and to a happy singing of it, to, something that is a little celebration of the connection. And so she was super fun to work with. It was really interesting.
Oh, wow. That is a great story. Whenever I found out that you didn't just have someone making noises, that it was actually someone who is a nonverbal autistic person vocalizing this non-autistic person, I just, again, goes to the credit of the work, the level of detail put behind something. It's, I think the runtime is not even 11 minutes with credits. But you're willing to put that kind of work behind it, and it is just so fantastic. It just, again, just moves me even more, and just literally blows my mind. That you're willing to put this kind of production value into something like this. Like I said, the visual styles, at least to me, it seemed like there was a slightly different filter put up to the camera whenever you were doing it from Renee's perspective. You had her little social tics with her hand, and just the love of the ringtone.
It's interesting. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, it was just, I mean, I'm not an expert by any means, but to me, it just seemed like you guys just hit everything as right as possible.
Thank you so much. And it's interesting because I think Renee's point of view was this deep collaboration between our, our animators, our voice talent, and lighting, camera, and sound. In each case, they added on. It's this is one of those beautiful Pixar things where you take an idea and it walks through the animation process, which is very layered, right? Nobody's working at exactly the same moment, but I think they're all trying to up the ante on expressing that idea. And so the sound design is so beautiful if you just kind of go through and listen to it and think about how Renee's point of view, how her sensory experience of the world is expressed just sonically. I love it. I love the sound design on that.
Yes.
That, the guy who mixed that, Kenny Pickett, is wonderful. And he told me the other day, he's like, I'm most proud of that film. That's my most proud moment so far in my career. And I was like, yes, yeah. And then camera work. I mean, Sylvia, do you want to talk about Sylvia, Krissy, for a moment? Sylvia and Danielle and that collaboration across camera?
Sure. Yeah, this is Krissy. So I think what Erica is getting at is absolutely correct in that so many of the people who worked on Loop really, really did a lot of research and a lot of deep thinking about how best to express Renee's point of view. So in the case of camera, with our director of photography and layout, Sylvia Wong, she really spent a lot of time thinking about, well, if we're seeing things from Marcus's point of view, we're going to use a very traditional camera style. But if we're seeing things from Renee's point of view, she's going to be avoiding eye contact almost all the time. She's going to be, looking at things that she finds pleasure in and probably trying to avoid things that she finds stressful. So the camera moves in a way that is not traditional for that you see in film. And same thing with lighting. When we're looking through Marcus's point of view, it's a much more traditional lighting setup. But when we're looking from Renee's point of view, we're trying to experience the world from a slightly different way. And the consultants that we collaborated with from the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network were instrumental in helping us develop the look of Renee's point of view. We actually showed them several different lighting tests, and they were able to give us their feedback on which ones they felt were most stressful and which ones they felt were most relaxing. And we used that information when creating Renee's point of view from a lighting standpoint.
Yeah, like I said, it comes across well. And the sound thing, I from my limited research about how just pretty much everything is full blown. There's no real focusing in on one sound, and you were able to capture that. He was able to capture that by just pretty much all sound is rushing right at you. So trying to be able to pick out one person's voice over the sound of the car versus the rippling of the water and the wind. Like I said, to me, it sounded like it was spot on. That's how I think from what I've heard, the way that it is interpreted or heard, they hear things, we're able to hear things, and that it gives us an experience of being able to hear something like that, because that's something that most people just can't grasp. Like, well, you think you could, just hear one sound, or block out the sounds, but some people just can't. They hear everything, and it's not something that is easy to deal with.
Right, it's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot coming at you.
So again, I can't sing my praises about this. I guess if you guys were able to say something that you took away, each one of you personally, from this project, what is it? Michael, I guess we'll start with you since.
Well, just from observing Erica and interacting with Maddie, I think it made me understand a little more how to interact and relate to autistic people, and that it takes a lot of patience and it's a slower process. So it made me less fearful of it. Maybe not fearful, but a little more understanding of how to develop a relationship with folks like that. So that was probably the biggest takeaway for me, is to want to put in the time to establish that relationship and see that it's really possible. But it's something that takes work and some understanding on your part.
Krissy?
Yeah, and for me, this is Krissy. I think there's a couple things that I take away. One, I do think for me, while we were making the film, the thing that seemed most important was just that learning how to communicate different from you takes patience, but yet that the reward is worth it. That I think that being able to reach out to someone who thinks differently from you or is different from you in a certain way is really a worthwhile experience, and something that I think we can all be better at. So that's one thing. Since the film has come out, I also have realized how important it is for people who are underrepresented on the screen to see themselves on screen. We've been getting so much positive feedback from folks who are, or folks who have an autistic sibling or child or relative or friend, and just to see how people have reacted to being portrayed on screen in a small way that might relate to their own experience has been really powerful. So those are the two things that I say I'm taking away from this experience.
Yeah, I think in the end for me, there's two takeaways as well. Like the first takeaway is just like, I feel so grateful. It's like I got to learn a wonderful new language and have a conversation with a group of people I would have never met, through this project. That learning about autism, being able to listen to so many autistic people share their experiences and really diving into the specifics of it versus kind of this overarching, like, I experience the world differently. I'm like, what does that actually mean? How does that feel? How does it look? that is, as just a human and a creator, that is the most exciting thing there is to me, is like finding a connection, through work that expands your worldview is like amazing. And that just now I feel like I have this community that I'm in conversation with, that feels seen, which is really, really powerful, that they feel seen and feel excited, but I also feel like getting to see them was so powerful for me as a neurotypical person. Like that is amazing. And then the second half of like my takeaway is just how joyful it was. And I hope it continues to be, to work in animation. Like it's a form that I had quote unquote studied. Like I've been making documentaries about animation for 15 years, like I would know a lot about it. And
Who is Cruz Ramirez, and what is a Pixar short?
I love Cruz Ramirez. I like our, Cruz doc is great. But to be able to like work collaboratively with all the filmmakers here and craft this little story, and that idea of layering upon like their talent and experience and insight and aesthetics, it was just like, it was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I went from admiring the craft of animation to loving it and wanting to make more, because I feel like I'm now a person who can work and tell those stories in that medium. And that is really a weird and interesting turnover, right? So I had like both kind of my personal things that I take away, and then professionally it was just really, really cool to move from being an observer to an actor in this beautiful, beautiful medium. So there we go.
Pete Doctor, if you're listening, Erica, keep bumping her up. Keep giving her bigger projects.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
And Krissy and Michael too. I mean,
yes.
It wasn't by accident. I believe in my heart of hearts, nothing happens by accident. There's a reason things happening, and the reason that you guys came together to be able to tell this story, and then the way that you did it. I hope the world stands up and takes notice. I hope the powers that be, I will go as far as say the Academies, the Golden Globes, all of them should take notice and pay respect to this film, because it like I said before, it gives a voice to people who unfortunately for one reason or another don't have one. It speaks a message that the world needs to hear as far as communicating between just people. And Erica, I think even beyond, might change Renee's life. I think it actually even changed Marcus's life, because, at the beginning he said, oh, do I have to be with her? She's strange. And then your little snippet at the end, the little payoff at the end, it shows how, even though he's not on screen, it shows how it changed his world.
Yay!
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that did not go unnoticed by me. If again, I can't speak enough that if the listener, has not seen Loop yet, go take the 10 minutes and watch it, or 11 minutes, so that way you get the payoff at the end. And watch this beautiful film and sit down and really take it in. It is something that the more you watch it, the more that you keep picking up about it. There's just so many little details and just little tweaks that you may not notice the first, the second, or even the third time, because I think I've watched it about 5 times now. First time I watched it, I immediately contacted Erica and asked if you could be on this show, if you'd be willing to come on this show, and you were gracious enough to say yes. And then Krissy and Michael, you guys came, wanted to be on part of it too. So thank you very much for joining me to talk about this.
Thank you, man. It is
thank you
guys
so
are
much.
wonderful.
This was a great conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Matthew.
I'm sorry, I have to go to a recording session for another documentary, Matthew. I'm going to miss you.
Go ahead. I'm going to miss you. I think I told you guys I have to bring my daughter to her rehearsal, so I do have to say goodbye. But please, listeners, join in and let us know what you think of this, and please spread the word about what Pixar's doing, because they are producing some of the most fabulous things in under half an hour. So thank you very much, and we'll go from there.
All right.
I'd like to thank Erica, Krissy, and Michael for joining me again on the show. I can't thank them enough for taking time out of their busy schedules. Krissy was not even actually at the studio. She was traveling, and she took the time out of her travels to be able to join us on the show. I cannot thank them enough for sharing their thoughts, their time, their talents, and to talk about this piece of art that they created. What did you think of Loop? Have you seen Loop, or have you seen any of this Spark Shorts? And what are your takes on them? Let us know. I'm really curious to get your input on that. Join the conversation on Facebook, facebook.com/Disney Marvels Podcast. Again, that's facebook.com/Disney Marvels Podcast, or on the Twitter @Disney Marvels. Again, the Twitter handle is @Disney Marvels. You can also email the show with your answers or suggestions to disneymarvels@gmail.com. Again, the show's email address is disneymarvels@gmail.com. You can also leave a voice message through the Anchor website and app. There's links to all these in the show notes. I want to thank you again for your time. I know how little time we all have these days, you included, and how busy life is, how crazy this is. You know, every day something's running about, someone's taking you, have to take you here, have to run there, have to go here, grocery shopping, and there's a line 20 people deep. The fact that you take in a little bit of that time that you don't have to listen to me means so much that I don't think I could ever express how much it means to me that you are listening and that you're enjoying the show. I hope you're enjoying the show. And if you are, let other people know. Tell other people, check out this show, Disney Marvels, to get people from Pixar on, ESPN, all different type of topics. Check them out. Or if you don't want to tell people in person, go online, go to iTunes and find Disney Marvels and leave a review, because that will do so much for the show. I can't express how much that would help the show by leaving a review on iTunes. It helps the show get noticed by other people. So don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're on iTunes, or whatever way that you access the show. And this way you always know when a new episode is posted. Or you could also consider becoming a premium subscriber to the show. Help the show out that way. This way it just keeps the lights on and help with some of the cost in getting the things done and taken care of. You can do this over at anchor.fm/DisneyMarvels/support. Again, that's over at anchor.fm/DisneyMarvels/support. Because remember, this show is brought to you by listeners like you. And next time you're planning your next vacation to wherever, do what I do. Contact Destinations with Character Travel. It's a Disney earmarked agency specializing in Disney cruises, resort vacations, and they're in the business of making your dreams come true. They're made up of past cast members, annual pass holders, lifelong Disney fans, world travel enthusiasts. They are in the know regarding all aspects of your travel. Whether your travels are taking you to Disney parks, on an ocean cruise, or a sunny resort stay, they have the destinations and the service level to make your vacations truly a magical one. Find out how they take the stress and hassle out of your vacation so you can enjoy yourself. Book a Disney 5-night package with a 4-day hopper with them, and you get a free 25 Disney gift card just by mentioning our podcast. That's what I was alluding to at the beginning of the show. Get free $25 gift card by just mentioning the Disney Marvels podcast. Contact them now at destinationswithcharacter.com or email them info@destinationswithcharacter.com. Their information is available also in the show notes. Whatever you're facing out there, whatever troubles may bother you, whatever walls may seem to be up in front of you, don't forget that you are worth it, that there is a light inside of you that is waiting to shine and to brighten up your life, brighten up other people's lives. But don't worry about the other people. Think about how you are worth it, how you are special, how you are important. No matter what someone may tell you, whatever you may feel, there is a purpose for you. A purpose that you may not see right this moment, right this second, maybe not even the next week or two. But believe me, there is a purpose out there for you. There is something that you are going to do that may have a profound effect on one or more people that will change someone's life. Your light is brighter than anything possible, any other light out there. Never give up, never give in, and be your own hero. I'm going to end this week with a quote from Walt Disney. We have taken a new look at our world of nature and humans with the questioning cameras, discarding some ancient myths and adding dimensions to our scope of interest in the minds and hearts of people. The sciences, medicine, psychology, and others have taken their place alongside the arts, the romantic and fantastic in common human interests. We seek to estimate the future and its bearing on our existence, as well as dwell fondly on the past or indulge escapist dreams. And that's from Walt Disney. Thank you again for listening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.